go out and do my weeding again and my.
Yeah. So you've had some trials in the last let's call it last 8 months since the beginning of the year. Is that about when your back started to hurt you?
Well, it was in August last year.
I think you're right. I take that back. I do remember you dropping by the house and saying that you had some back pain. You would move a little bit slower. So tell us what happened with that.
I just felt it just hurt back there, and I went to the doctor, and he said, "Well, why don't you maybe you got chiropractor or something?" And I went to chiropractors for I think about 2 months, and decided that wasn't doing any good. So
you didn't feel a lot of relief from
what?
You didn't feel any relief from
No.
going to them.
Mm-mm.
So what? Just for the camera, she has spinal stenosis on the lower 3 lumbar of her spine, and it's pinching those spinal nerves that come out, and they innervate your legs, your thighs, your calf muscles, and really even down to your feet. So she was having some real pain with her legs and the back.
Dr. Franzen told me to go and get an MRI, and so I did, and then he said, "Well, I think you better go see a neurosurgeon." He thought a back surgeon, and so I went to that, and then he says, "Well, you have some problems, old age arthritis, and then the pinching of the nerves." He says, "But I think you'd be better off. I don't want to operate." He says, "I want you to go to a pain doctor." So I went to Dr. Nacken.
Yep, Dr. Nacken.
And then the first thing he did was he gave me a shot, a steroid shot. I think
cortisone.
They said. And,
cortisone.
Oh, that was so neat. I just felt so good.
Oh yeah.
I thought, boy, this is it. We'll just get shots all the time, and that lasted. I got that in February, and that lasted until about April. The pain came back, and we talked about it, and he says, the shots will be good, but each time it'll be less time.
I think that's what you realized is you did get a shot again.
No, I didn't.
Oh, you didn't?
Never got it. No,
Okay.
I never got another shot. And he says, but then he told me about the procedure he wanted to do, and so that's what we did.
So last summer, or this, I think we're about 4 months. Was it in May?
It was in May. The end of May.
The end of May of this year, you had 2 spacers put into your lower lumbar, and at first it was touch and go. If that you were still in a lot of pain.
I was in a lot of pain. I didn't realize. Each day, and when you look back on it, I think, oh, gee, I was taking one of those pills every 4 hours and waiting for the time to come, and now I take half a pill in the morning and then a half a pill in the afternoon, and that's all.
And that's kind of where we thought it would go. We hoped it would go. But there in May and June were not only were you battling this back problem, but we're battling this COVID virus, and so a lot of people can't come over, and it's just 2020 has been a crazy year for you and for society, but more for you and Dad because you're in that risk group of COVID, and so we've had to limit our times being here and seeing you.
Let me put my little say in here. I don't think this COVID thing is half as important as the politicians and everybody's made it. I think they've ruined the world with this idea. They've stopped businesses. They've done all sorts of things that they didn't really need to do. It's a virus, but like a doctor says, there's all sorts of viruses.
Yeah.
And some of them are just and this one isn't going to be any. I think it does attack people, but it's mostly the people that don't take care of themselves.
Yeah, and I think you and Dad, certainly Dad, with his history of pneumonia, I think there's a risk there, and obviously your ages, but your ages in other people's lives, if you were to, age wise to age wise, you and Dad are both relatively healthy.